You know what really stood out to having him right here talking intimately, really, was how mature he is. When he's talking about the question about the coaching team and working with two different people. Like, young people do not normally know how to manage those situations. They're usually being taught and told, and he's actually on the other end of that spectrum, which is extraordinary.
He's always been very mature, giving up the opportunity to dominate junior tennis, to go get beaten by older players as a young pro, because he wanted to be on these stages and he wanted to get here fast. And it wasn't going fast enough for him. 3 years ago, he was number 10 in the world, lost in the quarterfinals here, decided that's not good enough. That's when he changed his team and built to this. Great hands at the net at the end of the first set. He was able to serve this one out, Todd. Then Zverev started to become a little bit more of a challenge for him in that second set.
Pardon me, yes, indeed. I mean, he survived this big break point, 15-40, got out of it, got to 2-all, and then he held all the way to get to 6-5. And then, look, I mean, there are moments in matches that change things. And it was the let cord that was coming in this tiebreak that really did kind of let the air out of the tyres for Alexander Zverev. And even Jannik, he made mention of that particular point.
Yeah, and this forehand catches the outside edge of the line. If that misses, Zverev is back on serve in the tiebreaker. So there were just a couple of key moments that went the Italians' way. And Zverev, you know, he was so disappointed after that second set, banging his racket on his bag, but he kept fighting, kept bringing the serve, and he kept just trying to find ways to pierce the veil of the serve of Jannik Sinner. He just simply could not do it, could not get to break point, and then Sinner gets to championship point in the drop shot. He would set him up for this backhand that would brilliantly give him the chance to touch that trophy again.
It's quite remarkable you're not getting a break point tonight. Zverev had 71 throughout the tournament.
Yeah, extraordinary
71 numbers. And not being able to get one from the Italian tonight, and that said it all. If all goes well for him off the court throughout this year, do you expect to see him as the #1 seed in 12 months' time?
I would imagine so. He's off to a great start. He's put 2,000 points on the board by winning this title, so he's got a lead towards the finish line. But there's going to be other players with plenty to say about it. We shall see how this year develops. There could be lots of twists and turns along the way. But listen, with him and with Alcaraz, the star power at the youth level, really, of the food chain here is so immense. They're going to be just selling tickets all over the world. You can see that developing. And they're going to be setting the standard for the other players to try and chase. But again, I will repeat this.
There's some coming.
Do not forget about Novak, because if he can get himself healthy again, I mean, he was really, really a big factor in this tournament. It's just such a shame for him that he had the muscle tear, but would have been great to see if he could have pushed even further on.
Yeah, and you imagine this is the sort of thing that would have motivated him even more once yet.
Yeah, I think actually Novak needed this 18 months ago, not quite now in terms of that motivation, because when we lost Rafa, it waned a little bit for him for a moment or two last year. It looked a little more difficult to be inspired, to keep on the road. It's tough to be out there for that long. And it looked like the start of this season, he was ready to go again. Oh, yeah. And now we have to find out, you know, how long he will be away.
And as you mentioned too, a few teenagers on the march too, chasing this, the new two. It's a great label though, and it works for now. While Carlos and Jannik are so successful.
Just quickly, those images that you saw there, a lot of people look at sports people in general as it's not a job and it doesn't matter. But it does, and your self-worth sometimes revolves around your performance between a win and a loss. And I think that's one of the great pictures that we're going to have of this Open, in fact. But yeah, you dwell, don't you? And you wonder, and then you've got to find a way to dig yourself out of a massive hole to really find belief and find reason to get back out on the practice court tomorrow and go again.
Those are absolutely indelible images there of what defeat looks like, and the champion that Sinner is, just recognizing that moment and having the empathy for him that's everything to me. That's what sport's all about. But for Zverev, he's got to believe. That's the only hope he has, is to keep believing. He can't dig himself a deeper hole than he's already going to be feeling like he's in right now. He's got to just keep fighting the good fight. And he's got to also, Todd, the thing that we kept coming to, he's got to be able to trust himself in those moments to go for his shots, because this is not an era in tennis that defense is going to win. Defense wins championships in things like the NBA in the United States, but it doesn't win on the ATP Tour. It's the offensive players that take it. Even Novak, the greatest defensive player we've ever seen, He won and will continue to win with offense. You got to be able to play defense to get more chances to play offense, and that's what Jannik Sinner was able to do so well today.
And so in saying that, one of the key things that you need to do is to have things to work on. So tomorrow, to get back out on the practice court, you need to be able to go, right, this is what we're going to improve, or this is what we're going to fix. And the most obvious thing that stands out to me after watching again tonight was he has to work and get somebody to work on transition and a finishing volley, and also making a difficult volley to then be able to cover the net in the right places.
Absolutely agree, Todd. He's got to be able to finish at the net, but he also needs to be able to get to the net with a more aggressive shot.
The transition, the right
forehand
ball
down the line. We showed you the video of him pulling out of that shot and going cross court all the time. There's too much predictability there. He needs to spend a lot of time, and this guy's a workhorse, James. He is willing to spend the time. He needs to spend the time being fed balls and just ripping forehands down the line, and go for the line. And then when he gets into a match, he can play it a little bit safer away from the line. That's what we saw Nadal do on the practice court. For all those years, Nadal was far more aggressive in the practice court than he ever was on the match court, if you can believe that. What he brought to the court was a conservative form of tennis. So for Zverev and his team, I think he's got to really use that practice court to over-exaggerate the aggression so he can fill in those last 2 check marks on the bottom to win a slam and get to world number 1. He will keep searching. This guy is a grinder, and with his serve, he's already got a head start over most.
So that's one thing he improved too. Sorry, James.
And with that application, so there's no worry from either of you about emotional scarring from the 3 Grand Slam final losses?
Well, there'll be some, but the fact is, you look at it and you've been in 3. I mean, how incredible is that? The first 2, he was so close. Tonight, though, I think patterns of play and tactically, he didn't have the answers that was required, and that's exactly what we were talking about there. There's some technical change, the work on what Jim has just told you. You've got to make that happen. And I think as soon as you take your mindset into the future, then you're fine. You're right. Making the final, losing here, that won't matter. It'll be about the opportunity to do it again next time.
And here's a getaway thought for him as well, too. He's in an era with some great players. Novak is still here for how long? We don't know. But he's got 2 real forces for sure. And someone else will probably rise. Will it be him? Will it be someone else? But in this era with 2, maybe 3 instead of 4 with Murray, you just might not have to face someone like Alcaraz or Sinner in the final. So, you know, there is a chance that he's going to play someone who's a little bit more of a mortal, to speak.
The cards need to fall his way.
Yeah, maybe.
To try and get that luck
that might be what it needs.
Wide World of Sports on YouTube is your home of the tennis this summer.
With highlights of the best matches of the summer of tennis, the on-court interviews, and every day with the morning serve, you'll be ahead of the game.
So click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing this summer.